Hi, it's RPW here, and I have a very special guest today. His name is Kemosabe. I'm used to calling you Chemo. And I would just want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here. You can
Awesome.
call me Chemo. Everybody else does.
Right? So I really am thankful that you come on the show. And actually, someone else from your team was one of my last interviews, and she had told me a lot about you and what you do for your team. And I really felt that that was something that it could be really shared out there to everyone. But first of all, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Um, well, I'm Kemosabe. I became leader of my team not too long ago. I've been playing War Dragons for probably about a little over a year and a half, closer to 2 years now. And I actually almost quit playing the game because my first two teams that I was on were not very helpful at all, and I thought that it was a lot of out for themselves type people being a team-based game. And when I finally got on my team, Royals, which was really awesome at the time, it kind of fell apart. And I became officer of the team. I became base officer, actually, because the old officer that was base officer, he ended up leaving. But he taught me a lot before he left, and I continued to learn more. And so I was base officer for the better part of a year and became leader recently. And I still set up people's bases, amongst other things.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of hats I think the leader wears.
Oh, yes.
Yes, but I hear you have a very knowledgeable, or we should say a gift, at helping your teammates set up their bases. So, what is it you do to help them?
Well, I try to catch people early on. It's harder when they get to higher levels and they have a longer base. I try to make sure everybody's bases are fairly short until they reach pretty high levels. I recommend that people, reach level 300 before they want to extend their base past their first perch island,
Right?
per se. Because if you build it too long, you have a lot of low-level towers. Your defense might seem high, but it's really not. When, you have, I call it long and lean and short and strong is the way I try to explain it to people. You want a short, strong, real tough base. You don't want people to be able to build a rage and keep on flying through your entire base. If you have a short base with a lot of, high-level towers, it's a lot better stopping power when it comes to some tougher dragons that fly through your base, even when it's undefended.
Right. Definitely. I love my short base. Short bases do tend to help a lot. Now, of course, what do you suggest to your teammates when they come to like a stopping point? Like, let's say, well, I can't upgrade the little things anymore. I'm only a level 205 and I can't get the eggs to increase my builder set right now. What would you recommend to them during, for example, the fortification event, which is here today?
Well, if you can't upgrade anymore and you need the eggs, I tell people, at 205, there are things you can extend your base even at level 200, 205s to give yourself some good defense. I have studied up on some of the bases to a certain extent to basically it'll help your base. It'll make it a little bit longer, but it will it's the basic setup. You need to learn key placement of your defense towers if you're going to extend it
Got
to
you.
get up to the level that you need to.
It's not that it's bad to necessarily extend your base as long as you know the key little things that can make that a little stronger.
Right, because a lot of people they like to get on game when you see the loading screen that says build so many of this or so many of that. So new people they get on and they see that and they're like, oh, let me put 10 lightning towers on an island when in fact they're not doing anything.
Right.
I tell people put all your ballistas, put all your lightning towers, and your trebuchets in storage. They're useless.
I feel like the
You
lightning
know,
tower is going to come back. I don't know how to explain it, but I just feel like something is going to bring that back. And I'm like, and I'm not then upgrading it. I think they're going to surprise us, but I mean, I don't know. It could just be wishful thinking, paranoia. I don't know.
Well, there's so many dragons that have come out now that are so resistant to the lightning. It's almost they've become pointless. It's
Well, no, but
like the ice turrets are almost pointless anymore.
Right, but
I
now
mean,
they're bringing out the ones
for a
with the
little
flak
bit.
resist. Like a lot of them now, like this season and last season had the flak resist, and that's why I'm like,
Yes, but that's where the nice thing about the flak towers is the electroflak. Even though the dragons might be flak resistant, the electric flak boosts the damage from any flak tower that's on that island with it.
the super shots.
It's very helpful when it comes to that.
Yeah. So, what is your biggest mistakes when you built your base when you first started?
What is my what?
Biggest mistake when you built your base? Like if you were to warn someone that was low level.
I unlocked every island and built multiple towers of every kind on every single island.
Me too.
It's one thing to unlock and remove the fog and clear the trees and stuff like that to get the rubies and stuff. It's one thing, but to continue building past your first perch island, I don't recommend it until you're really high level. And I see that a lot. Being only 155, I see level anywhere between level 200 and 250 bases that are, the entire all islands are just covered with defense towers, and I can walk through them with my platinum and my sapphire, my first sapphire dragon. Mm-hmm. So it definitely speaks volumes.
Right.
If it looks like my base, I won't attack it.
No doubt. So another thing, you just said that you're a level 155, but you've been playing for quite a while, so you must be a free-to-play player.
Yes, I don't spend any money on the game. I just put in a lot of work, and a lot of work. But it's I think it's better for me. Not everybody has got the time to be able to play long periods of time like that, so. If you're willing to put in the time and the effort, I mean, you don't have to live on the game. A few hours a day is even pretty good for even your basic player to be where they need to be after a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is work. I'm not gonna lie, but if you're willing to do it and follow plans and listen to somebody that knows what they're talking about, you can get pretty far.
Well, there's actually a benefit to someone like you doing this. Number one, you're learning mistakes before it's too late because you guys are having a slower growth mode, and then the fact that you guys tend to have better dragon leveling, balance with your base growth whenever you are free to play because, well, it's just the way it works out. So in my opinion, in a way, you guys have the advantage in that kind of sense. Maybe not in sigil growth and, point systems within the season, but in the long run, if you, stick with this game and you push and push and push and you do dedicate yourself to it, in a way,
yeah,
you do have a nice advantage because like I said, you've got, a lot slower pace, which means what someone learns in a year's time, they might be a level 400 or 300, I should say, where you might be a level 120. So by the time they realize their mistakes, they're like, oh no, I'm already a level 300, where you're still only in your hundreds and can correct a lot more mistakes before it's too late.
Yeah, I was mid-60s when I actually was corrected on a lot of the way I started playing the game. I was breeding every dragon. Oh my God, the rubies that I saved up for those dragons that cost rubies to breed. I'm talking upwards of almost 50,000 rubies to save up and breed those dragons that are pointless and you'd think they'd be better because you're spending rubies on them and they're not. And
that's a good warning.
Yeah, yeah. So I definitely would not spend the rubies on those dragons that you don't need because they're pointless to have. You know, good breeding path is great to have. A great base setup. You know, somebody to teach you. You really need a good team that becomes more family than anything else.
But people need to understand there's a difference between joining a team and expecting the leadership to do everything for them and being a part of a team player. You know, there's teams that help you, but you can't join a team that and expect them to do everything for you. And because you can burn out your leadership. You really can. Because you're a leader, I'm a leader. And I know there's a lot of other leaders probably watching my channel. So let's talk a little bit about leadership. What is your biggest challenge as a leader?
My biggest challenge is finding those players, basically, which I've done a pretty good job, that are willing to work with you, to listen to your advice, take some constructive criticism, and realize I'm not trying to tell you what you need to be doing. I'm trying to give you suggestions on what you should do.
Right, but you do what you want. It's your game.
Right. It is your game. And if, like I said, long base, short base, it takes some people, it takes a little time to realize, well, these big dragons, these dragons are walking through my base when I'm defending other people, and they're defending against dragons that are stronger on their weaker base than, I'm throwing up the air quotes here, weaker base than mine because I'm a higher level. Just because you're a higher level does not mean that your base is strong.
Yeah.
And mine is because of the simple fact that you just were going crazy. And it takes some people, some time to realize it. And it takes a lot of patience to be a leader. It really does.
It does.
Trying to coordinate wars, trying to set up bases. It's not just me. I have a war officer. I have, my wiki warrior, Lara, who you interviewed before.
I love her.
And, yeah, she's awesome. She's a beast. She's the beast on my team, pretty much. I mean, I have a handful of them, but she's definitely, she likes to go crazy on it, which is pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's some challenges. It's fun being a leader, though. I thought it was going to be a little tougher than it is. And it is, I'm not going to say it's the easiest thing in the world to do, but if you have a good core team and people are willing to work and pay attention and do what they need to do, play the game like it's supposed to be played, you can get pretty far.
I think the hardest thing for me as a leader is not only choosing officers, but demoting officers and not being able to fill an officer role because it's already filled. When you have those players, you're like, they deserve this. They deserve a role, but I can't take off the players that I have because they deserve to be there as well. So I think for me, that is probably the hardest thing to face as a leader because I'm like, I don't know. Demoting someone is worse than booting them sometimes. You know what I mean? It's like,
yes and no. I guess it all depends. No,
I don't mean
on the team.
On their end. I mean, like when you're in trying to decide, okay, so yeah, this, like one of the things I do is I actually put it out there. If I'm noticing that somebody's not doing what they normally would do, I'll say, is everything okay? And if it's not, do you want to bring someone in your role for a while? So that's why I have sub officers. They're always those backup officers in case we need to refill a role. But those sub officers know that they'll step back down as sub officers if the officers come back into the role. But there's always it's always just so hard for me.
Yeah, that's something I've been thinking about implementing and adding to my wiki is a few sub officers to assist that I feel deserve an officer position, but I'm only allowed, the few that are underneath me, unfortunately.
I know.
And I would love to promote like 3 right off the top of my head to officers, but I have great officers. Yeah. I can't say that I don't in any way, shape, or form. They do what they're supposed to do. They help me out a lot when it comes to doing having to delegate and be like, hey, can you take care of this or can you take care of that? And it's nice, but there's those other people, it can't be, it's hard because it can't be all just on one person.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been thinking about implementing the sub-officer thing so that it could, help more for when, like, say, have like a second sub-war officer to assist for if, like, my war officer isn't on at the beginning of a war, can't be on for some reason.
Right.
That knows what they're doing to help run waves or whatever it is that needs to be done.
Yeah, one of my sub-officer roles is actually a contributions officer. So they're the ones that, they're the cheerleader, which ironically on my team is my mom. So like whenever we're getting to our next point level, like team achievement, she'll come in and go, hey, we only need 3 more. Can you? And then she'll go out and she'll reach out to them. So she's like this points, cheerleader for the team. And she's the idea into why I started a sub-officer role, because I'm like, she literally does that all the time. Like that is her thing. So I'm like, let's start creating some extra little roles here. I mean, granted, they can't boot anyone, but they don't need to boot players to do this.
No, they can't boot people. They can't, notify people. They can notify people. They can send them a personal mail and stuff like that, just to say, hey, everybody sees that you're not, on. You haven't done this yet. Can you hop on and do what needs to be done? So, I mean, in a way, yeah, you can still do basically almost everything that an officer can, but the recognition of people on knowing that you're a sub-officer and when you speak up and say, hey, let's wait for a minute or let's do this, people are going to stop and go, okay, let's see what they have to say and do, take into consideration the idea that they're trying to give and see if we can work with it. So,
yeah. So what about this season? Let's talk about the season. What is your favorite dragon so far? Or what are you working on, I should say?
Me being free to play, I'm pretty much done with Cavaliers.
Nice.
And I love that dragon. He is my first dragon that I've gotten past the Platinum Stone. And like I said, I did not think I would be as far as I was right now, so I didn't think I would need Platinum Stone for more than just Platinum Stone on most of my dragons, sad to say. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty much done with him, and I'm right now deciding on whether I want Sylphin or if I'm going to wait for the next set of dragons to come out and decide then.
I don't know for sure because they've not mentioned anything, but and sometimes it goes one way or the other. With the festive dragons, sometimes they'll be discounted, sometimes they won't. So right. I'm waiting for see if that's going to be discounted before I do anything else.
Yeah, I was thinking about waiting for the same thing myself to see if the one that's coming out is going to be discounted. He looks pretty cool.
Yeah, he does.
And I want to get him just because for the way he looks, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be worth what he looks like,
Yeah. I want to see his spells and all that kind of stuff too. Definitely.
Yes.
Now, it's funny you said that, you didn't think you'd make it that far, before you not really got past Platinum. I've noticed as I grow, the bigger I get, and of course the higher we go up in leagues because we're getting bigger and bigger, the better I do in general. So it's really hard whenever you see, a level 70 struggling and complaining because it's like, I'm free to play and I'm never going to get these. Well, I don't think it's designed for a low level to be able to get a whole lot. I think it's designed to help you through your growth factor. And then once you get to that 100 marker, which once you get to 100, it starts to go fast. I mean, you climb faster than you'll ever imagine.
Oh, yeah. You definitely, the higher you go, you definitely get better and better prizes and stuff like that. But I try to tell people, like this past event, the Kingdom Wars, or not Kingdom Wars.
Kingdom Wars.
Yes, the Kingdom Wars. I would follow them into an attack on a base that, is pretty easy for them. And I'll tell them, listen, hey, if you want to go this high, I can help you take the base, get yourself more points and the team more points. Mm-hmm. If you'd like to, that's totally up to you. But I will totally back you on whatever runs to help you put up points. The other officers and higher level players are more than willing to help majority of the time too. So, I always try to tell people, don't be afraid to ask. You want more points? You want to get more sigils? Let's go. We can all help each other.
And there's always those few that are very quiet, don't ask for that kind of help. And then there's always those few that it's like they only want to do it if they have backup. So
Yes.
you can have an ugly side or a good side to that. So I don't know, a little both sides on that spin up. But yeah, it's exactly right, because the bigger you get, the bigger, targets you can take. Now, however, at the same time, like during things like PvPs, you'll notice that it's only like a 4-point increase from one level to another. I actually go lower because I would rather be guaranteed my points than get a defender and then be out all my points. So I tend to go lower.
Well, hence the reason for the bases. I'm a big base person. Me personally, I look at a base before I attack it. I don't go based on what their points are.
I get that. Trust me, I get that. But the problem is, a lot of times you go and look at the base, you're like, okay, that's too strong, or, oh, but that's too weak, let's go pick another one. I've had many cases where it glitches and it takes my energy. And so if you're talking super attacks, it sometimes with me, for whatever reason, it'll take up to an hour before it will come through and, give me back my energy. I can restart, reset, restore, and it's just like, okay, where are these energies? So it's like, yeah, that would be great. I wish there was a way that we could not get screwed out of our energies if that was the case, but that's my problem. So I'm like,
I'll deal with different glitches. I've never had that one. I've had a lot of different glitches, but
really,
I'm glad to know that if I have to look for that one, I can.
There's a lot of players that have that issue. You go into your attack in the PvP, and let's say you go, okay, wait, this base is too strong or this base is too weak, I can go higher. Once you cancel that attack, it'll think that you used that energy. Now, I didn't.
Yeah, usually, I have had that happen. Usually, if you just back out of that tab into main game and then go back in, that energy will show right up.
Nah,
I did notice once a while back that I tried that. I backed out of the attack, went straight to my next attack, and I was short that 4 energy, and I don't remember it coming back.
Well, no, I mean, mine will come back. It's just sometimes it takes a few hours. So, I mean, it happens to a lot of people on my team.
I didn't realize it, yeah.
Oh, maybe. Because, I mean, like, let's say you had a full amount of energy, and you went back in, then you wouldn't have noticed it because it could have refilled itself before you got done with your next attack. But there are times it's like, where are my energy? Yeah. So that's why I don't do that. I'm always so leery. But once I've gotten an attack going, as long as I know what team I'm hitting, I then can kind of learn the bases and get better with it. But sometimes I've been known to go into like a level 180 and they smash me immediately because of the defenses. I mean, some people know how to defend really well, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another thing I try to teach people is you do need to learn how to defend. And it's a lot easier on short bases. And if you can learn, if you see what dragon's flying in per se, like Cavaliers, for example, you don't want to hit a super shot on a mage tower.
Right.
And if you know what you're doing, you can defend most people's bases from a majority of attacks.
Yeah, most people really need to understand each of the dragons because let's say, or at least the spells that are on those dragons, so that whenever you're looking at them, they're coming through. If it says lightning resist and there's lightning towers, don't boost the lightning towers. Move on to something that doesn't have a resist against. So, but you're right.
Yeah, a lot of people I know that when they first start playing the game, even for quite a while after they've been on game, the first thing they do when they hop into a defense is they're dropping super shots on the first towers that are there. And sometimes that's not the best thing to do. Sometimes, if it's a level 250 and their base is longer, go back in an island and drop the super shots back there because once they get past that spot, there's kill zones. If their base is set up properly, there should be at least 2 kill zones.
Another great reason to have a short base. That way there's a clear understanding of where your kill island is at for your players when they do defend you.
Precisely.
So, because I know that there's been in the past, my husband, he had one of those long islands and I used to beg him, please shorten it. I don't even defend your base. It's pointless. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah,
I'm talking about my husband.
it's I hate to admit it, but, we do defend those that are easier to defend as opposed to the ones that, not so much.
Well, it's like, why waste your resources?
Exactly. I mean, I'll go in to get on a war to defend somebody, get the defense points more or less, knowing that their base is going to get murdered. But it's pointless to drop hammers, pointless to drop shields,
Yeah.
and trying to defend it because you know that it's not going to help because their towers are just too low level because it's such a long base.
Right. Well, it's just like if, let's say, the only thing left is level 50 and a 100 comes in on it, or let's say 180 comes in to hit level 50. You're like, well, let's take the defense points, but there's no way we're going to be able to protect this guy.
Pretty much. Just drop the super shots and be done with it.
Yeah, just move on with your life. Well, I appreciate you coming in and having an interview with us today. And I'm hoping that, maybe something you've said will spark the interest of somebody else and maybe give them a little insight on what they can do with their team. You never know. But are you guys currently recruiting?
We're always recruiting. You never know when somebody has an issue that they can't be playing a lot. So, we're currently trying to set up a juniors team again so that we can take our less active players to a lower level and get them to so that they can at least be on the team and still have contact with us and whatnot. So we're always recruiting.
All right, cool.
For people that are willing to work with us and be a team player.
Well, his name is right here, guys. It's Kemosabe187. If you notice this name, you can actually go into your in-game email and click new mail and send him a message if you are interested in joining a really awesome league that is very close to me, very close to my heart. I love you guys very much. Actually, I love everybody.
Yes, we love having you on our family.
All right, guys. Anyways, thanks again, Chemo, for coming on the show, and maybe we can do this again one day.
You're welcome. It was great being here.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, so I really enjoyed my cup of coffee and my conversation with Chemo this morning. If you did, don't forget to leave my video a big thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, remember the best way to support my channel is to, of course, hitting that subscribe button. And of course, to prevent yourself from missing out on any future videos, make sure you hit that bell so you can get notifications. Now, if you or someone on your team might be interested in coming on my channel for Let's Talk Dragons, then get with me because I can easily schedule up either a cup of coffee in the morning or maybe a glass of water in the late afternoon or maybe even a beer at night with over, some fun laughs. So get with me. I do have a special guest coming up next week, so I'm so excited about that. Anyways, happy hunting.